All right, welcome back to the PricePlow podcast. We're recording this February 2nd. I don't know when this is going to go up, but I am super excited to really honestly jump right into this one. One of our first episode guests, at least that I was on, is coming back, James Boccuzzi, Boca James, very well known for his time in the industry at USPLabs and, of course, Blackstone Labs. And has gone through a controversial last couple years. If you're unaware, we've talked a decent amount about the indictment with Blackstone Labs, but I don't want to put too much of my commentary on this. I think a lot of what this episode is going to be about is telling the story of how we came to the indictment and the issue overall. So, James, I'd love for you to simply introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about your past, and get into the story of where you are and where you're going.
I'm James Boccuzzi. Thank you guys for having me on. I have about almost 20 years of industry experience, GNC, Vitamin Shop, USPLabs, obviously in their heyday, the real USPLabs, iForce, Blackstone Labs, and from there I went on and helped Redcon a little bit. Steel supplements, I did kind of my own little consulting thing, and that led to MyoBlocks, Black Magic Supply, Chemix, and from there did a little consulting sales-wise and a little bit of design work for some brands. So
I remember Boca on the brand a couple years ago. I remember that. Yeah, I'm excited to see you get back to that. But I'm sorry to interrupt. Keep going.
Oh, no. Yeah. So obviously that was before I did a lot of stuff. So everything from sales to helping marketing, helping design. So even up to launching a brand. So definitely tried to dive into a lot of different areas of the business and learn it.
Yeah,
I'm still learning.
I actually forgot. We right before this all went down, we spent a lot of time with you. I think like the last time we talked was really a lot about Chemix and Black Magic. Yeah. It was a hot time in retail. It was before kind of like the current craze of direct to consumer. It was a hot time back when brick and mortar and specialty was, you know, what I would consider to be like the last hot period of it. You were really at the forefront of talking about these brick and mortar stores and really working with them.
Yeah, well, I think something that I'm most proud of is when I met with John Foster from MyoBlocks, and you know, he had this really cool brand that he was making and selling in his store. And a lot of people don't know this, but John would formulate his product. He would get all the ingredients, all the flavors, things like the masking agents and everything, and he would mix up everything in his own little studio and then send it to the manufacturer. So this was a brand that the labels, packaging, formulas, everything was like created in-house, really by hand. So it was really cool. And when I checked it out, I was like, you know, this could be something that does well in retail. So we started to bring that brand out and the limited editions. And this was early 2018. And I think a lot of contract manufacturers were starting, you know, smaller brands, smaller runs for people, and they were also helping design. And I remember one of the manufacturers reached out to me and he said, every single person that sends them a design that they like and that they want to do something like was MyoBlocks. They were sending them MyoBlocks. And, you know, there was no limited editions products back in the day. And we had the Cryo series, the XO series, Cinco de Mayo, and the Rainbow Haze. And the stores were picking up, small stores, 144 units of that. And it's funny. I really think that MyoBlocks started the whole limited edition trend, which now you see it's like everybody does a limited edition trend. And I think we were the ones that kind of pushed that out there and created some excitement in the industry, something new. And it's funny, I went into Supplement Warehouse the other day, and it's almost every brand has a really nice label now. Every brand has nice artwork. Really what I wanted to do, because so many more hardcore ingredients were going away, was find a way to separate myself in the retail stores. And by doing this with the cool artwork, the cool branding, the limited editions, and the unique formulas, it brought something cool to the retailers without actually, okay, this is edgy ingredients. It was a full package. And when I went into the store the other day and I saw it was like the full store was Black Magic, Myoblocks, there was Chemix, there was Panda Sups, After Dark, is that right? And so much more. And it was like the vision that I kind of had was now this is a whole store is these cool products with great labels, and the store looked awesome. And I still see Black Magic in almost every store post to this day. And that was, I kind of feel that was my like almost gift to retailers in a way. And I'm happy the brand is still doing well, even though I don't work with them anymore. But to see retailers have something nice that they could do well with, it definitely makes me happy. So, because that was the whole point of doing this, was to give retailers something unique and cool without getting into edgy ingredients.
I can imagine, as that was going on, you had this kind of indictment hanging over your head. So clearly you're not going to be pushing any more, any like even gray area ingredients at that point. I got to give you credit because you have been with companies that have been ahead of the curve on this like hockey stick end of craziness, USPLabs, Blackstone Labs, during the heat of it and during the tornado. And I want to hear about these tornadoes, but yeah, credit to you. Like, I don't have a current argument against you saying that you were definitely involved in a lot of this limited edition collab type stuff before it was a thing. So like, I'm not going to argue at that point for sure. Like you've been ahead of a lot of stuff. So, obviously a lot of people here are going to be wondering like, what in the hell happened at Blackstone Labs? Like, can you like, and maybe you want to start even earlier at USPLabs. I don't know, but like, can you tell us like how this like hockey stick tornado just happened? A lot of this is like public record. Can you just give us the story as much as you're willing to?
Of course. So I worked at Vitamin Shop. I was a manager at Vitamin Shop, and we had a rep come in from USPLabs. His name was Joe Simone, and we had a good relationship because I liked the brand, the USPLabs. We sold a lot at Vitamin Shop. And so after Vitamin Shop, I went on to work at Allstate. I was doing insurance sales. And Joe from USPLabs brought me on as a demo rep for USPLabs. And I liked it. And insurance sales, I wasn't, thrilled about. So I called him up one day and I was like, hey, man, I like working with USPLabs. Could you give me a job full time? And he's like, give me a minute. And 20 minutes later, he called me back and he said, we're going to make you a Northeast territory rep. And that was my first job working with a supplement company. So that job title.
Around what year was that?
Or maybe 2011, 2010, 2011, maybe.
Okay. So DMA is still going, but the battles are like about to really kick in effect over there.
Right. Yeah. It was just, I think as Jacked was launching around, and actually I remember trying samples of Jack 3D. It was originally called Jacked, but they had to change the name because I think there was a product called Jacked Up or something like that, a testosterone product. But I remember Joe coming in and mixing samples, and it mixed up like Diet Sprite. It was like a fizzy, carbonated, and it was called Jacked. So that was right when that product launches when I came on board. And the role I had was Northeast product educator. So I was at USPLabs for maybe 2 or 3 years. And so I would drive around to the stores, and we didn't sell anything because all the products went through distribution, Europa, Lone Star. So we were more like kind of customer service representatives almost, where we would go to stores, talk to the employees, get them hyped up about the brand, do demos, put BCAAs in cups, protein in cups. And just get people hyped up on the brand. So we never really sold anything. There was no sales that the education team did. And there was about 25 of us at one point. And, and when USPLabs was really big, there's 25 outside product educators. And if I could think about it, I would say USPLabs was the most organized, structured supplement company that I ever worked for. I remember going to the office in Dallas. I'm pretty sure it was in Dallas, and they introduced us to the team. All right, here's our legal team, 5 people, in-house legal team. Here's our, when the products come in, they were, looked at and inspected, and powder was taken out. I mean, it was a real deal. Like, these guys were very structured, and the company was very organized. And funny story, they were really big on compliance and what we could say and not say, claims about products, things like that. So we would be educated on, how we could explain a product, what we could say about it. And our little bonuses that we got were depended on how much knowledge we had on compliancy and talking about the ingredients and what you could claim and what you can't. I've never experienced that with another supplement brand where they were that strict. I mean, they would send us a book, how to write a proper email, because they wanted their emails really professional. I mean, the guys there they really ran a strict, organized program. So a lot of people think, oh, USPLabs, you read about it, all bad. It was by far the most organized, structured, disciplined company that I ever worked for, supplement wise.
That's interesting to hear. I haven't heard that, but having been on the fray of that, you could kind of tell that they weren't schmucks. And a lot of the indictments in prison time, which you're not related to on that, you're not named on any of that stuff as far as I know. That had nothing to do with Jack 3D. It was actually a version of Oxy Elite Pro that had a liver toxic ingredient in it, and some of the issues stemming from that, especially in Hawaii. And so it wasn't ultimately crazy enough. It wasn't Jack 3D that got them in the most trouble. I mean, it put them on the radar very, very obviously. But it was kind of the response after that with the different formulations of Oxy Elite Pro that really led to some serious trouble. So just wanted to kind of note that because, we'd obviously been following that for a while, and it took, another 6 or 7 years before all that stuff got resolved. But yeah, I wouldn't mind hearing from Jacob at some point. I have no clue if you were ever in touch with him or if he's out of prison or anything. I mean, I don't know. He's gone quiet if he is back. So either way, just wanted to note that. So what happened after USPLabs for you? Did you go straight to Blackstone after that?
Well, that's an interesting point you just made. And you had a gentleman on your podcast not long ago where he talked about USPLabs in Hawaii. And from what I understand, what I heard is that those Oxy Elites were knockoff Oxy Elites that somebody else was making in Hawaii. So
that was a theory that we had because it was only in Hawaii, and there is I don't remember everything, but there is a fruit or a plant that they eat a lot more of in Hawaii that interacted horribly with whatever ingredient they tried to put into the next version of Oxy Elite Pro. It's when you lost the MAA, everything just, a lot of people reacted in crazy ways and stuff. And so people are trying to find other ingredients and didn't exactly work out. But yeah, that was what was weird, is that it was the issues were only in Hawaii. So why is no one in New York getting hurt? So to me, yeah, we were suspicious of that as well.
Yeah, there was, Jack 3D and Oxy Elite were so big. I think at one point that company was selling $40 million a month in those products. So there was knockoffs everywhere. I mean, you still see them to this day, the same label in Russia and these places all over. So there's still knockoffs going around. And I remember that's what we talked about when I was at the company, it was around when that was happening, that these were knockoff products that people were getting their hands on. And, I'll kind of touch on how that is related to my situation, later on when I get into the Blackstone story for sure. But, yeah, no, I remember hearing about that. So that's why it was very weird. It was just Hawaii.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So that brings us to like what, 2012, 2013 or so. I think like a lot of the action at Blackstone really kicked up in like 2015. So like what happened after USPLabs for you?
So I left USPLabs because I got offered a job at iForce Nutrition. And I started with iForce as a Northeast territory rep. Now, this was actual sales where I was selling to people, and they had a totally different business model. And I was learning about it. It was cool, but up in the Northeast, I used to always get sick a lot, like a lot of sinus stuff. So around the time that I started, I got terribly sick, and I was like out of commission for a month. So I ended up not working for iForce. I think maybe after a couple months. And I actually knew PJ Braun at the time because my first job at GNC was working for his mom. That was my introduction into the supplement industry, was working at GNC for PJ's mom. And then PJ became a manager at the Brookfield, Connecticut vitamin shop location, and I worked there as well. So that's where I met PJ. We were both working at GNC. He was bodybuilding at the time, trying to become a professional. I mean, this is around 2004, 2005. And we became buddies from there, and I wanted to do a bodybuilding show. He was a really good coach. He coached me for a show. And I knew he had started up Blackstone Labs at the time of iForce. And so I was like, hey, man, when you guys get big enough, you should hire me. That would be fun to work together. And so the day that the iForce job ended, I called PJ and I said, hey, I'm not doing anything. And he said, let me call you back with Aaron. So both of them called me back the same day that I was finished with iForce. And he said, hey, we don't have any money to give you for a job as salary, but we'll give you 10% commission. You could start selling the stuff and, see how you do. And I was like, okay, might as well give it a try. But because I had no salary and I was just on commission, my back was against the wall. I was like, I have to move this stuff in order to pay my bills. So I started going crazy ham right away with the same business model that I learned at iForce, the same sales technique that I worked at iForce for direct sales, because everything was going through distribution before. And I'm like, oh, you could sell direct. Why don't I just sell direct to the stores? And so I started at Blackstone Labs, and I think the first month I maybe sold 15,000 in product, second month 80, third month 150, and all the way up to the most direct sales I ever did was 600,000 in a month. And nobody was really doing direct sales at this time, and now all the companies go direct with their customers.
And so you made $60,000 in commissions in 1 month, one time?
In 1 month at Blackstone Labs, I think I made 55. It was 55,000. Because once I moved to Florida, my pay structure changed. I was on a salary. Mm-hmm. And so they gave me a salary and a smaller percentage of commission. So actually my pay went down. I was making too much at 10% commission.
That's crazy. Okay. So, all right. When did things start to like spiral out of control? Like what, just having, it's all public record. So looking at the indictment, it just seems like things got hot, and then they got, in my perspective, they got so hot that you almost like couldn't stop. It almost seems like it just like, where were you with? So what happened? Like, can you kind of like explain to me like those months where you're selling like $600,000 worth of product? Like what's going through your head there?
Well, we could go back a little bit. I think I think I started there officially April of 2014. And as sales picked up pretty quickly, Blackstone Labs started to hire people to do social media, athletes. The company started growing at a fast rate. We hired more salespeople. To that, in 2015 was a big year, and I remember going to the Olympia in I think that was September of 15, and at that time we had launched Prime Nutrition too. So I think we had Evan Senapani and John Meadows was an athlete. And I remember talking to Aaron at the Olympia, and we were getting ready to launch the Dynamic Muscle, Kai Green's brand. So he's like, "Hey, you got to move down to Florida. I mean, we're growing really quickly." So I didn't want somebody else to take a position that I could possibly get. So after a month after the Olympia, I packed up my stuff and I moved to Florida. So I think through 2014, I think we had a product, Angel Dust, a pre-workout, and that had amp citrate in it. And I remember, I think Blackstone Labs got a warning letter for that. And so we changed that and it became Dust V2. Now that the brand was becoming more popular, they didn't want to call it Angel Dust. Most people don't know. It was actually a great name because the younger people didn't know what Angel Dust was. But older guys did. So it'd be on the shelf and they'd be like, "Oh, Angel Dust, ha, ha, ha." The old guys got it, but the young people didn't get it.
Interesting.
But as the brand was growing, they changed it to Dust V2. And then in 2015, I think that's when our sales really picked up and the brand started becoming popular. 2016, I moved to Florida and started working out of the office. And I think shortly after that was when Aaron and PJ had their divorce. And then Aaron started doing Redcon. And I think in February or March of 2017, I left Blackstone, quit on my own. It was my own decision to leave the company. But through that time, they changed products a lot. So they had a product that said, "Oh, we can't sell this anymore." And they'd change a formula or make something new. So all this time, amp citrate is not okay anymore. They change it. These products, no, we can't sell these anymore. And I think to the end of 14 was when that DASCA, the Designer Control Act, came out, and they eliminated 4 products, and they still continued to sell Super DMZ and Alpha 1 Max. And those products eventually faded away because all that the new DHEAs that we got from high tech became incredibly popular. So when we had the more hardcore stuff, I didn't sell that much. Things really picked up for us when we made more fat burning powder, anogenin, laxogenin, the EpiCat. I mean, Blackstone had so many products, the protein. Once the brand was putting out more mainstream products is when my sales really picked up. So a lot of people think, "Oh, you sold a lot of the illegal stuff," but that wasn't the case. A majority of my sales came when we had products that were more mainstream. So the hardcore actual ingredients didn't really help us sell more product. It was the marketing behind it, and that Blackstone Labs was a hardcore holy grail. And it was one of the first brands to take advantage of Instagram and the social media marketing. So I think that's what really helped Blackstone become what it was a social media marketing and not really ingredients, because people wanted mainstream stuff.
I remember. Sorry, good.
Go ahead. I
was going to say I remember that your guys' posts on Instagram. I mean, it was every single day. Here's a new athlete. Here's an athlete who's doing something. Blackstone dominated social media for sure, and that was kind of post Shreds, I want to say. It was kind of like in the wake of Shreds, but you guys were picking up that relay race extremely well. I mean, you're taking what Shreds couldn't do and kind of growing from it. I think a lot of people are going to be surprised or not believe you on the compliant products selling more, but just based on like the hype. But I also can remember a time when everyone was talking about Glycolog. Remember Brian did that with you guys, and there were a lot of products. I mean, I took a few Blackstone products back in the day when I didn't realize the stuff that was out there. But there was stuff that was just so hyped, you know, you couldn't get away from it. I think I have the question that I have is, you know, I'm kind of reminded of like the Wolf of Wall Street. Like there's obviously like a lot of really great deals that happened with Jordan Belfort, but the story that everyone remembers is kind of like the behind the scenes. Like, was there a point where you guys kind of like, did you guys ever discuss like what you guys were selling or like the legality behind it? Because in the indictment, there's a couple, you know, kind of incriminating emails that are covered or anything like that. But did you guys ever sit down and talk about the fact that what you were doing might get you in trouble? Was that a conscious thing?
Well, so when I started Blackstone, like I said, I was only at no salary, no nothing. So I had just started learning about direct sales. So I didn't have a big customer list. I didn't have anything. I started from 0 customers, and I was on Facebook looking up store names, on Google looking up store names, to where I had built 400 accounts. So my day from 9 in the morning till 2 a.m., 3 a.m., I was working with accounts. And in the middle of the night, I would talk to people in Russia and Germany and Australia. So I was doing sales literally from 9 a.m. till almost 2, 3 in the morning. And those guys, Aaron and PJ, never even checked in on me. They didn't call me and said, "Hey, are you doing sales today?" Nothing. I would just work and send sales, work and send sales. I wasn't part of any management or any meetings or any discussions like that. You remember, this is technically my 3rd job or 2.5 jobs. I don't really count iForce a couple months there as a job. This is technically my 2nd job doing sales in the supplement industry. I was never taught about compliance, this or that, you know, the laws, DSHEA, what is a dietary supplement, what is not, you know, because as a sales guy, your job is to sell. And that's it. I had one job to go in, sell, boom, send my information in, and that was it. And I became so busy that, I mean, that's all I was doing Monday through Sunday. And I never spoke, me and Aaron, PJ never spoke about anything like that, any compliance, this or that. My job was just sell, stay in my lane. That was it. And that's what I did for my entire time at Blackstone. I got so busy that when I came to Florida, I had a personal assistant because I was doing so many sales. I think like upwards to 300, 350 sales per month. So that's a lot of customers to talk to and listen to, you know, their feedback. And, you know, this guy, Joe Simone from USPLabs, he is actually the one that taught me how to be a good sales rep, because he was really good at attuning to the customers and getting them on board. It wasn't like a special sales skill. And that's what a lot of people don't know about me. I'm not an ingredient guy. That's why when we did Chemix, I partnered up with Gorilla Chemist. I've only formulated 2 products, and it was the Citizen energy product and the Fat Lab energy product. And those were years after Blackstone. And I worked with actually the legal team at Leaf Labs to do that, because, you know, even to this day, I still don't understand all the laws, because that's not my jam. My jam is kind of hyping up, getting the stores products that they need, marketing wise, that will do well. So yes, I partnered with a lot of brands that had great marketing that drove customers to the store. So every brand I would bring them, it's not like they were selling some no-name brand that they had to introduce the customer to. They were selling popular products. And I always brought the stores popular products that sold themselves from the Instagram marketing. And that's why 100% why I was successful was from the Instagram marketing.
Cool. Okay. So on March 8th, 2019, that's when this indictment was entered into, at least into like Pacer or the system. So I'm guessing around that time, like what happened? Were you arrested, or did like some feds knock on your door? Were you just served some papers? What exactly happened around that time when it began?
Well, we could go back to when the government first got involved with Blackstone, and that's when they raided us.
Right.
So
Okay.
I think that was maybe January or February of 17.
Mm-hmm.
I was in the shipping office, and I remember they said, "Put your hands up." FDA, or they said something, and guys came in with guns. PJ wasn't there. Aaron was already at Redcon, and there was just me, the vice president of the company, the customer service people, and shipping people. It was pretty traumatic for a lot of people, because there were a lot of girls there, young girls that worked in packaging. They were crying, because people running in with guns at work, like they're coming into the cartel, busting the cartel. It was traumatic for a lot of people. And then they pulled me and the VP of the company in a room and interviewed us, and I was cooperative. I didn't expect this, but that was when it started. And like I said, Aaron was across the street. The VP of sales wasn't there. And PJ, I guess he was coming to Blackstone when this raid happened. And somebody texted him that we were being raided, and he turned around and went home. He didn't even show up to Blackstone Labs.
That must have been crazy. I'm reminded, I have to in the show notes put in the link of the two lawyers who just say like, shut the F up, get a lawyer. Don't talk. Do you think anything you said or during that interview, during that raid, like helped the prosecution actually indict you?
No, I don't think so. But that interview came up in court, and there were some parts left out. So this guy was interviewing, asking me all these questions and stuff that I didn't know anything about because I'm just a sales guy. And so I'm just, telling him, what I hear, word on the street, because, when Aaron and PJ split up, the company became like less organized. And, we are hearing things through the grapevine. And, it was kind of questionable as to what was going on at Blackstone in terms of things being legit. We heard, okay, they tested a product and there wasn't the ingredients that they said there were in it. And so me and one of the other sales reps were both getting feeling uncomfortable with Blackstone and the direction that it's heading now that Aaron and PJ had split up and it wasn't as organized. So a gentleman interviewed me, an FDA agent, and he asked me, this was something that was brought up. He asked me, hey, do you guys still make Super DMZ? And I said, no, but we've made, a couple runs for a special client or a certain client, but it's not something we make and part of the staple line. And he goes, okay. And then he took out a couple invoices and showed me. And I said, yeah, that's it. I go, but that product isn't illegal. And this was left out of the interview. And this is 100% truth. I said, yeah, but that product isn't illegal. And he goes, well, what do you mean? And I was like, it's not on the list of like banned ingredients, that like, remember that stuff you guys, at the time, I couldn't even remember the name of the DASCA law. I was like, it's on that law that you guys passed, or that's not an illegal ingredient. And he's like, looks at the other person and he's like, they didn't even know what I was talking about, Daska. And I was like, if you get my phone, I can show you. I'll look it up and show you that that's not illegal. Because when Daska came out and there was ingredients listed, PJ and Aaron removed 4 products. And there's videos, which I still have to this day, and emails where PJ and Aaron said, hey, these 2 products are still good. You know, they're not banned. And I'm thinking, well, if they take other products, if they remove amp citrate, if they're removing products, then they're doing the right thing to make sure we're not selling illegal ingredients. So it's like, why would you remove 4 products and not 2? Well, why wouldn't you just keep them all if we wanted to sell and keep selling illegal stuff, right? So they're changing stuff, they're changing formulas. I'm like, yeah, no, they're doing, what they need to do, and PJ would tell me, yeah, we're working with lawyers, da, da, da. I'm like, okay, so, all right, cool. We're doing good. We're improving. We're still building sales. But in that interview, I remember I said, yeah, but that product is not illegal. It's on that law. And the agents looked at each other like they didn't even know what I was talking about. And I got my phone. I was like, oh, yeah, see, it's not a legal ingredient. But in court, they said that when they asked me if DMC was still being made, that I said no and lied, and then left the rest of the interview out of it. 100% truth.
I do have to point out here, I think this is one thing that Rick Collins has covered pretty well in his discussions, is that DASCA isn't that great of an act because it's kind of an extra law on top of what already exists. Like DeShea says that Super DMZ would not be a dietary supplement in the first place. And then they came out and named specific things. And I do believe there was an ambiguous section that said anything that acts like testosterone as well. I'm paraphrasing here. I don't remember the specifics, but it did leave some ambiguity. But at the end of the day, DeShea would cover this as well. DeShea would say that this is not a dietary supplement. And that's likely what they were referring to, because DASCA almost is irrelevant to them. They can act on this just based on DeShea. I guess I would like to know from you, because some of the stuff in the indictment referenced when you guys used to sell Osterine, and in no way was Osterine ever legal to sell as a dietary supplement. It was a drug the whole time. Was that? I know that there seems to be 2 different eras here of when there were things being sold and then when things had gotten cleaned up. When that was being sold, did you guys ever discuss the fact that it was a drug, or you were just kind of just selling and you were out of those conversations?
Yeah, no, I was just, the whole sales team was selling and out of those conversations, never were in it. And I think this is a part where people get confused because, even now that I'm out of prison, people have reached out to me and they said, hey, could you sell some of my products? DMHA, things like that. Oh, they're gray area. And I go, do you know what? Let me correct you on something. There is no gray area. It is either legal or illegal if you're putting it in a dietary supplement, right? So I think the whole gray area thing that confuses people is, and I remember thinking back when I was doing sales, is something is either illegal or legal. So cocaine is illegal, black and white, right? But I think when you have an ingredient that's not illegal, the ingredient, but is illegal as used as a dietary supplement, I think people don't understand the DeShea law. And when I speak to stores, things like that, back in the day, they didn't understand it either, because nobody wants to, for the most part, the people that I worked with and myself, I didn't want to sell illegal products. I've never been in trouble in my life. I have never been arrested before the indictment, anything like that. I work hard and I could make an honest living. I had no desire to sell illegal products. And a lot of the people I worked with, they had no desire to sell illegal products either. But they were very confused as to, okay, well, this is not illegal, so it must be legal. But when you put it in the dietary supplement and call it dietary supplement, then it is illegal. So, and I think a lot of people are confused on DSHEA and what actually constitutes a supplement or not. And I think that's where the confusion is, because most people, your mind in simple terms, something's legal or it's not illegal. Cocaine is illegal. You can't sell that. Okay. But Austrian, yeah, no, that's illegal. You look it up. Is Austrian legal at the time? There was nothing saying that it was illegal. So I know a lot of people had good intentions. They don't want to get in trouble. They don't want to sell legal things, but they're just uneducated. As I was at the time, like I said, at USPLabs, we have 5 lawyers on staff. Aaron would say, hey, we're working with our legal team. Hey, we got legal team. There's lawyers on staff. It sounds like the company's doing everything it can to protect the company, the employees, and everything like that. So no, there was never any conversations as to what was legal or illegal. I remember, if you walked into any supplement shop, they had Austrian. There was other companies, a bunch of other companies that had Austrian. So the stores are selling it, putting it out there. There's other companies out there selling it. It must be okay to sell. If these guys got lawyers and, they're working with and making the product, then should be good. I'm not hearing anything. But like I said, the sales team, we wake up, we do our sales, and then we check out. That's it. We were never part of any management talks or anything like that. There is one, I think this was used in court, email from me, in between me and Mark Lobliner, where he says, oh, SARM is illegal. And he sent me like this thing as to why it was illegal. And I'm like, I don't really understand this. And I remember forwarding it to Aaron, but that was the only thing I've heard from outside, from one person, Mark Lobliner, that it was illegal. And I remember at the time, Mark Lobliner and did not get along with Aaron and PJ. So I'm like, this guy, don't like him anyway. I don't even know what this DSHEA stuff is. I forwarded the email to Aaron, and I just kept plugging away.
Interesting. So to rewind a few things though, like I don't know, as we all learn, like ignorance of the law doesn't like exempt you from it and everything. And I think for people getting into this industry, you need to be very aware of who you're working for, and you can't just fully trust what someone says, because you still might be breaking the law. Maybe you'll get a little bit of leniency or something, but it's still an issue. The law we're talking about called DASCA, Designer Anabolic Steroid Control Act of 2014. That's what we're talking about. We'll have that in the show notes. And so, at the end of it, there is, and this is the one I think that the president signed, the absence of a product from a list referred to the subsection shall not constitute evidence that the product does not contain an anabolic steroid. I think they're kind of saying like the Attorney General may add other things to this list. So it's not like a definitive list. So like, I'm going to give everyone else some lawyering right now and be like, if I wouldn't argue law with the police officers who are raiding you, I would just shut up and call a lawyer because this stuff is confusing, obviously. And it's tough for everyone to understand DSHEA. And that's why it's important to work for a company who does understand it and have like legal counsel. Otherwise, you're putting yourself at risk. So that's just some of my personal disclaimer. And, we've dug into these laws, and there's a lot of stuff that is probably going to go to court, with against the FDA. And so not everyone agrees on how all this stuff is, how it all comes together. So like a lot of it's to be determined. So, right. I'm not sure if you had anything to like add to that, but like,
it's when I started to learn about DSHEA after Blackstone, when I started helping formulate and put together brands, and now I have, a different role. I'm not just doing sales. I'm part of the actual creation of these brands and products and things like that. And I started learning about DSHEA. I thought, okay, laxogenin is good. And then you see laxogenin on the warning list. So it is confusing. And I think, isn't there the MNM is out?
Mm-hmm.
So even it's like, okay, yeah, that's a dietary supplement, but then they say it's not. So, I mean, there's not even ingredients as to what is a dietary supplement or not. As laxogenin is good, but no, not okay. What am I missing here? It's like you really have to um, do your research and have a legal team. And even then, who knows if there's going to be an agreement that these ingredients are okay to use. It does get confusing.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so to bring it back to my earlier question, the day of the indictment, how does it go down for you personally? You had been interviewed maybe 2 years before that during a raid.
Yeah. Well, after I left Blackstone in I think March or April of 17, because the company, I didn't see it growing anymore. I saw it getting really disorganized, and I didn't see the company getting any better. PJ wasn't showing up for work. There was nobody really running the show. It became really frustrating. And I was making great money at Blackstone Labs. My salary was $144,000 a year and 4 or 5% commission. And I was selling $6 to $7 million in product a year. So I was making great money at Blackstone Labs. And because I just wasn't a fan of what was going on in the organization of the company, not because I thought something was legal or illegal, that is why I left on my own. And so I went in and I started working for Redcon because me and Aaron still had a good relationship. And when I started working for Redcon, 2 FDA agents came to my house and gave me a target letter. And they wanted to talk to me. And so I actually showed Aaron the target letter at work that day. And he spoke to Jared at High Tech, and they said, hey, we're going to help you out with a lawyer since you worked for Blackstone Labs. And when I spoke to the lawyer, I had no problem going and talking to the government. I didn't have anything to hide. I still had my personal email that I did 99% of my work on. I said, hey, I could show them the emails of, anything they want to look at. And my gut instinct was to cooperate. And my lawyer at the time told me, if you go and cooperate, you could say something that could be used against you. So don't cooperate. And I was like, okay. And so listening to lawyers' advice, I mean, I've never been involved in anything like this, never been arrested, nothing like that. Well, the lawyer must know what's best. So I listened to the lawyer, and I think almost 2 years went by, and I got a call from him, I think maybe a month before the indictment, a couple of weeks. And he said, yeah, I guess there's going to be an indictment coming, but I don't think you're in it. So you should be fine. And then the day before the indictment, I got a call and said I need to turn myself in. So I had to turn myself into the U.S. Marshals, and I was in a little prison cell for a little while before I bailed myself out.
So who gave you that call that you're going to have to turn yourself in?
My attorney.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. So you basically have 24 hours to get things in order. Like, what's that day before turning yourself in like?
Well, yeah, I think they told me the day before, and this was I think the first or second month that we had launched Black Magic. So I'm at the computer doing sales, and I got the call, and I said, okay, you're going to have to bring $10,000 to bail yourself out. So I got a cashier's check, $10,000, and went back and kept plugging away on the computer selling Black Magic products. Next day, went and turned myself in, came back home and started selling Black Magic products like nothing happened. I was like a robot, all these years, just sell, 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 sell. And that's all I focused on. So yeah, I just went in, uh, sat in the cell, gave them this check, got my fingerprints, DNA after that, went right back home and kept working on Black Magic because the brand had just launched and it was picking up some steam. So I just wanted to keep working.
Okay. And then, so what happened after that? Like, so you're back to doing some work, but eventually court cases are going to start up, right?
Right. So we're in early 2019 now. And I guess, I was talking with the lawyer and I guess they had like 14 lawyers between all the Blackstone people and everything like that. And he said, yeah, we're going to, go and fight this together. All the lawyers, there's a good case. You were just an employee there. You shouldn't be held accountable for anything. And I was like, yeah, I don't think I should be held accountable for anything. My intentions were always good. And I tried to be honest at all times there. I work hard to make an honest living. And if I'm going to do something illegal, I mean, at least, hey, I could be a decent criminal if I wanted to. I wouldn't be like, hey, I'm selling super DMC. Everybody check me out. Oh, we're selling it on this website. I could be a little bit better criminal than that and at least kind of hide it or try to. But no, we were selling this stuff, the whole sales team, right out there in the open, right out to websites, retailers. None of the salespeople thought that we were doing anything wrong.
So I understand your point with this because it was so conspicuous that it seems ridiculous to think that you guys knew that you were selling something illegal. I think that the super DMZ point is absolutely on point here. I guess my question is like some other things that they brought up, like the impersonating of the FDA agent for the free sale, and like. I don't think that a lot of consumers are going to understand what it's like to export supplements out of America. Anyone who's actually in the business knows how big of a pain that is in the ass. Did some of these things just kind of start to like pile up, or like where did you get to the point where these kind of things started coming in? Were you aware about that?
Okay, this is a great story, and this is the facts because the actual story is twisted around to fit a narrative in somebody else's story. So I guess there was this customer who worked with the VP of sales because the VP of sales did international. I didn't do international. And the VP of sales wasn't showing up. It was just me. I would go in, we had a little office. It was me, my assistant, and another sales rep who at the time was my girlfriend, fiance, Daniela. And we were just in our little office working. And so I guess this customer was friends with the social media guy. So the social media guy came into my office and he said, hey, could you help this customer? I know it's not yours and you don't get any credit. You don't make any money on it, but he needs some help. And me being I'm on every customer. I'm trying to make everybody happy. Good customer service, good sales guy that I am. I'm like, yeah, I'll help them. I know I don't make anything, but I'm assertive and I'll do my best. So this customer reached out to me and he said, hey, I need some paperwork for exporting products. And I've never been trained on any type of this paperwork or anything like that. I don't even know what he's talking about. So he sends this email with a document and says, hey, PJ used to do this for me in the past. It just needs to be changed around a little bit. And I'm like, okay, so I just copy what he wrote and I forward it to the VP of the company. And the VP, I don't know what he did with graphics people or anything like that. But I get this document back and I didn't even open the document or look at it. And I just forward it to the guy because this isn't my customer. I'm just trying to help him out. I have customers that I make money on that I have to help. So I forward the document back to this guy and then I open it up and I look at it. And I'm reading the document, and it is the graphics department. I didn't know anything about Photoshop or anything at the time, so I couldn't have done anything like that. I didn't even have it on my computer. Altered the document so it has my name on it, and it's like PhD or something like that. And I'm reading it, and I'm like, yo, this is shady. This is sketchy. And I'm like, this is stupid. So I end up having a conversation with the customer, and I'm like, hey man, like, I don't know, this like seems really shady. Like maybe this is something Blackstone Labs did in the past, but we can't do stuff like that. Like this is putting us at risk. People could lose their jobs, go to jail, stuff like that. And I was being really dramatic because I just really didn't even want to be involved in this. And my moral compass was kicking in, and I wasn't even going to benefit from doing this. So other than just trying to help a customer, wasn't making a penny off of this. I had customers that did $250,000 orders. This was a $5,000 order with some sketchy paperwork. So that's when I'm like, God, man, I was being really dramatic. I'm like, man, I'm impersonating an FDA agent. It's like, this is not good. And I eventually had a call this customer, and I said, please don't use that paperwork, destroy it. And that was it. The paper just had my name on it. I didn't alter the paper. I didn't sign the paper. And my moral compass kicked in, and I'm like, hey, bro, like, people could get in trouble. I get in trouble. This isn't worth it. Not even making any money on this. Please don't use this. And to go further with the story, in court, there were some customers that came in, and I'm like, well, why is this customer testifying? They're like, oh, they had the paper with your name on it. Was it what kind of certificate was it? Free trade, right? It was a free trade certificate that other customers had. And I'm like, well, how did these customers get it? And my attorney was like, there's no record of them getting this, but they had it. But no emails, no phone numbers, I didn't meet up with these customers. And what I think happened is, when I left Blackstone, somebody else took over my email. And when customers asked for certificates, they were in my email and sent them out their certificate. But all these customers were going in and saying, hey, we had the certificate, but there was no record of how they got their certificate, which is really sketchy. Like there's no email with my name on it. Oh, how did they get it? I don't remember.
Wild. So during the court case, a lot of people were indicted. Did you have your own court case? Or was this like it was a group case? And then, okay, so you kind of alluded, there's a lot of lawyers, a lot of people are saying that they're going to stick together. Is that what happened? Or did people start turning on each other?
No, I guess leading up to it, I mean, I would reach out to my lawyer periodically and, hey, is anything going on with this? Nothing. If I saw Aaron, he would say, no, we're going to beat this thing. We're going to win the case. So I'm like, okay, cool. And, I had things in my life that I was focusing on. So, hey, these lawyers are doing their job. Cool. So I guess Robert DiMaggio, I think he was one of the first people that pled guilty and cooperated. And I think another person after that, and I think the VP of the company, and eventually Aaron pled guilty, and then PJ pled guilty. And then the lawyers came to me and they were like, hey, are you going to plead guilty? And I'm like, no, well, I was an employee. Like, I stand firm on my position. All you guys wanted us to work together. We got this. Now, a month out before the trial, you want me to plead guilty? No. And so I was the only one that did not plead guilty.
It seems like you got the short end of a very long stick. Like I don't know if you ever found any kind of resolve or kind of figured out why this happened, but it seems like everyone else was being fought for and you didn't get fought for. I mean, my understanding, I think you were the second person to get out of your sentence, but it seems like you gotten taken advantage of or kind of used as a scapegoat of some sort here, from at least from the perspective of the story that you're telling.
Well, this is what I truly believe. If you look at it, Aaron was indicted, PJ was indicted, Joey was indicted. He ran the little manufacturer with Aaron and PJ. Robert DiMaggio was indicted. He owned Iron Mag Labs and owned part of Blackstone for a period of time. And then there was the VP of the company of marketing and me. And outside
Joey was Anthony Ventrella?
Yes.
I don't know if I know. But okay.
And so outside of owners, only 2 employees of the company were indicted. And what I truly believe is the VP of the company, David, he did not cooperate when the government came to them. He was told not to cooperate. I was told not to cooperate. All the other people that were actually above me and had management responsibility, decision-making responsibility, ordered products, things like that, were not indicted. They all cooperated. So the only 2 people outside of ownership that did not cooperate were indicted, and that was myself and David. And I truly believe that that's what led to my indictment, was me not cooperating, because the prosecutors would send my attorney emails saying, James should really cooperate with us and stop protecting his friends. And I'd be like, I'm not protecting them. What am I going to say? They told us it was legal. I can't comment on what's in Aaron or PJ's head, what they know to be true. I could only comment on what they told us was legal or not okay to sell. And I still have those emails to this day. This is legal. We have 30-day grace period. Okay, we're getting rid of it, but we have 30 days to sell it. I have all these emails and all this evidence till this day. That was actually never presented in court. But I truly believe the reason myself and David were indicted was because we didn't cooperate. And we're the only 2 people that didn't cooperate. And other people above us that actually had their hand in some of this stuff were unindicted co-conspirators, I called it. So they were part of the conspiracy, but not indicted.
So when you mentioned your lawyer earlier on, you said, like, I'm not sure if a lawyer was provided for you or whatever. Like, did you pay for your own lawyer through this whole thing, or?
Nope. It's paid for by Blackstone Labs.
Okay. I mean, I'm not a lawyer, of course, but it almost feels like you were not being represented by. You weren't being represented. Your lawyer was representing them more than you. It's kind of like human resources departments aren't there for the employees. They're there for the corporation. I'm thinking, like, do you wish you had just gotten your own legal counsel on your own? Well, the price?
When my attorney spoke to me and started to say, hey, Aaron, he called me up and he said, Aaron, this was after Aaron pled guilty. He said, Aaron wants you to plead guilty. You don't worry. You don't need to protect him anymore. And I'm like, huh? I'm like, I've never had a conversation with Aaron about protecting him. This was never like an idea that I was protecting them, because I wasn't even like, me and PJ were not on good terms at the time. I had a falling out with PJ after I left Blackstone Labs. So I had every reason to say something to the government. I had every reason to, throw PJ under the bus, but I wasn't going to lie. I did not know what PJ or Aaron knew or didn't know. So once I heard that, I started to become pretty frustrated. And as we're getting closer to trial, I asked my attorney, hey, and I still have these text messages saved, are we going to go over some of this like discovery or anything like that and get ready? And he said, too late now. You had 2 years to go over this discovery, and it's too late. You lost your chance. And I'm like, bro, like, what were you doing for 2 years? You said you've been working on this. I've been available, and now we're getting to trial and it's too late. So I actually tried to fire my lawyer before trial. And the judge said, hey, you would fire him, but you have to have another lawyer ready in 2 weeks for trial, which was impossible. And so I had to go to trial with this lawyer. And in my opinion, he was a good attorney. During the trial, I mean, he seemed to really know his stuff, but he wasn't prepared with a defense for me, because I had emails, I had people that wanted to testify on my behalf, other sales reps, other people in the company that did not think I should have been involved in that indictment. And I had 7 or 8 people, and not one person was called as a witness. I had emails, text messages, all things like that showing what Aaron and PJ were telling me to do and instructing me and the rest of the sales team. And none of that was in trial.
Man. I have opinions. I don't know. This isn't my place to insert opinions. It's pretty crazy though. Okay. So you go through trial. So like, just to reiterate, you never pled guilty then?
No.
Dude, that's okay. Like that, regardless of any like potential mistakes that happen, that's just awesome. So like, I don't know, man. Kudos to that. That's pretty wild.
But okay, I also couldn't go there and say that Aaron and PJ knew what they were doing, or this person knew what they were doing. I mean, literally, my day was wake up, sell, and that's it. And that's all I did from morning till night, every year that I was there, every day at Blackstone. So to this day, I can't tell you what was in Aaron and PJ's head. All I knew is that, hey, we have lawyers, we're removing products, we're changing products. We must be doing the right thing.
Can I ask, I know you've said this 3 times. I apologize for continuing to go on this. I know you showed up and sold. I understand. You mentioned before someone with Aaron having a manufacturing the products. Do you know anything about the manufacturing? Again, I understand that you were just selling, but like post that, or did you ever hear anything about the manufacturing of the products?
Well, I knew that Joey had a manufacturing place, and it was like across the street from Blackstone. I didn't know exactly what products he made, because I wasn't involved in ordering or anything like that. But PJ's dad did all the ordering of products and inventory. And we'll put it this way, and this is the truth. That place was right across the street from Blackstone Labs. And during my time at Blackstone Labs, I never stepped foot in that building. I didn't even know where it was. Okay. But I was linked to that in the trial. So there was like $800,000 or something of wire transfers that company, the manufacturer, sent to China. And the evidence that I was linked to those wire transfers was me saying to a customer, I think the product was Euphoria. He asked if we had any samples, and I was like, oh man, we don't have any samples. I was like, oh, it's a limited edition ingredient from China. And that email was the government's link to wire transfers going to China. Just me saying the word China in an email.
Definitely no doubt that those ingredients were coming from China. So Euphoria was an interesting product. I will admit I used it a few times, but I don't have a lot of recollection of what was going on in it. But I'm sure
everything comes from China,
exactly,
right? The scoopers, bottles, everything. So it's like, I just didn't know what to tell the customer at the time. I was like, I've heard, these are limited edition ingredient from China, but they showed 800,000, on their screen, $800,000 of wire transfers from this manufacturer that I've never even stepped in the building or been to, did to China. And then their next slide was limited edition ingredient from China. And that was my link to those wire transfers.
If nothing else, this should serve as a warning to employees of brands and speaking for this kind of stuff. You know, this is a different age. I do want to say one thing I didn't get to say before. Like James, you are 100% outside of all of this stuff. You are regarded as one of the greatest of all times in terms of sales reps for the industry. This is coming from a time period where like your book of business really mattered. Like sales reps are not as relevant these days because direct to consumer is a huge push, and because people are mostly going to big retailers like GNC and Vitamin Shop. But I remember a time where your reputation was all that mattered. And I mean, you're revered for what you did there. So your reputation when you went from brand to brand, I remember this, was very, very important because you want like when you left Blackstone and you went elsewhere, it was important for you to represent your customers well. But I think this whole episode should serve as a warning to anyone who's still in sales, and the kind of claims that you'll make for your employer, I think is very, very important as showing up here, that can be on record for a lot of things that you may not think you're responsible for.
Yeah. I mean, the government had my phone and my personal email, and I mean, they will use everything. To tell you some funny stories, I remember talking to Gorilla Chemist once, and Gorilla Chemist used to live with me when I moved to Florida. He needed a place to stay. So he was actually my roommate for maybe 6-7 months. And he would write me out rent checks. And what it was for, he would write funny stuff on the bottom. And so one rent check, he wrote hand jobs. And he told me that when the government was interviewing them, they took out that check and they were like, well, what is this? And he's like, hand jobs? It's a joke. But they will look at everything, any conversation, anything you ever had. There was one email from a marketing guy. He hit me up in Blackstone. He was like, "What if you were to market against Super DMZ, like you want to bash it? What could you say?" And in the email, I wrote, "It makes your dick smaller," and that was used in trial. They said, "See, he knows the consequences of DMZ," when it was just a joke. But that was actually created into a story that I knew the harmful effects of DMZ, that it will make your dick smaller.
So now you're an expert. That's wow. We're gonna have to clip that, Ben. That's just wild. So how long did this court case go on for? Were you was this weeks? Was this days?
2 weeks.
2 weeks. Okay.
Well, the first week, and yeah, I could get into some more stuff during the court case that is very eye-opening. The first week, they spoke about Blackstone Labs and Aaron and PJ. There was nothing about me. And so after the first week, it wasn't looking like a very good case for the prosecution, because my attorney said, "Hey, you guys have 3 million documents in this. You brought 500 documents to evidence, and there's only 20 documents with my name on it out of 3 million. So there wasn't even anything really with my name on it for the first week of trial. And I guess over the weekend, the prosecutors must have tried to put together more evidence. They had gone into my email and found a resume that I sent to ProSups in 2012 or something like that. And, in a resume, you kind of talk big about yourself. And, hey, I want to get a job. So in the resume, I wrote very experienced product knowledge on unique ingredients. And that was used against me. See, he wrote in this resume 11 years ago how he has knowledge on unique ingredients. How could he not know what he was selling? So there was really very little evidence with my name on it. There was no evidence that said, "Hey, yeah, I know this is illegal. Oh yeah, but we're going to sell it anyway." There was not one piece of evidence that said that.
Okay, so, geez, so after 2 weeks, how did the I'm missing the word. You're stated to be guilty. Do they hit the gavel hits the mat and then you get put in cuffs and taken away, or how did Really? Okay. And so did they go one person by one, or was this like basically you were like the last one standing or
No,
whatever?
I was the only one in trial. So,
Because he was the
Oh,
only one
okay.
that didn't rat or plead guilty, right?
yep.
Wow.
So this is 2 weeks of you just sitting at the table with a lawyer there.
Yep.
And a lot of it, you're not even totally discussing a lot of it until it gets into the things that you were, the 20 documents that you were in
Did
on.
Aaron or PJ come to your trial?
Nope.
Were they in jail already?
No. They didn't go to prison until their sentencing, which was in March. So one of the eye-opening things, not a lot of people know about this, and I guess this is a scary part for being a sales rep, is that I was charged with bodily injury too. And so I guess I sold, I think, a product Alpha 1 Max to a retailer, internet retailer in California, that then sold the product to a consumer. And the consumer took the product for 2 weeks, started to feel sick, threw the product in the garbage, and then as weeks went on and months went on, became sicker and sicker. And I guess he had liver and kidney issues. But he said that, hey, I took this product for 2 weeks and then I threw it in the garbage and I had all these issues, and it was because of this product. And he was taking other products as well. But that would have been an extra 5 years onto my sentence. I beat that charge. But the scary part is, and I mean, in the end of the day, listen, I'm glad this person is okay. You know, I'm glad this person is all right. That's the most important part. But the scary part to me is this was all off this person's word that they took the product for 2 weeks and then they threw it in the garbage. So we didn't even have the product that he took to test what was in it. Was it adulterated? Was it the right product? Did he get a different product? I didn't see him take it. Did anybody see him take it? This is just his word that I took this product for 2 weeks, stopped, and I got worse and worse and worse and worse and ended up in the hospital. And I guess at one point, his wife contacted Blackstone Labs, and the customer service forwarded the email to PJ, and PJ said, this person is a scammer. Don't talk to them. When it was really the guy's wife. And I never heard about this person. I never knew this person because obviously a sales rep doesn't get these type of emails. So I didn't even know who this person was or that this person was hurt or anything until leading up to trial. But I would have gotten 5 years for just making that sale to a store. I never saw the bottle. I never touched the bottle. And it was just on his word that I took this product and it made me sick. And that would have been 5 years added to my sentence. And that's the scary part. And going back to the Hawaii thing, is it these people just, oh yeah, I took Oxyelite and then I got really sick. Oh, okay. It's just based on your word. There's like, how do you really know that this product and the ingredients are actually what led to your condition? And nobody knows his lifestyle, what else he was taking, this or that. So yeah, I took this product for 2 weeks. I got sick. Okay, the guy's sales rep, not even the owners of the company or the manufacturer, anything like that, the sales rep, irresponsible.
This is hard. It's hard to discuss this because typically for dietary supplement companies, I will recommend that brands report adverse reactions immediately. Like there's no shame in sharing to the FDA that we sold this protein and someone had a stomach issue or something, because with legal dietary supplements, that's not an issue. Adverse reactions are supposed to be shared. The difference here is that there was a decision maker at the company. I understand you were just, I want to say, I understand you were just selling products. There was a decision maker that decided to start selling, toxic steroids or designer steroids or however you're going to classify this. And at that point, there is obviously an issue with like bodily injury. it's difficult because with dietary supplements, sharing an adverse reaction should be a normal thing so that we can all share the data and understand that there may be some population that has a reaction. And especially to your point with legal dietary supplements, it's very hard to say like this hurts someone because there's obviously a lot of other things going on. Years ago, someone taking creatine or protein it was an Alani Nu drink, had a kidney issue, but that person had a pre-existing kidney issue, and there's pre-existing conditions, or maybe they didn't know about the conditions, and so it's very difficult to like usually say one product had an effect on this person. I don't think that you were the right person to receive the bodily injury charge because you weren't deciding to put steroids in capsules, but it's a very difficult situation to be in because the product really shouldn't have been sold to a consumer in the first place. But I definitely understand your frustration there.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've had conversations with Aaron. I said, I remember at Blackstone Labs, we didn't really work together much. Like I said, we were in kind of our own little sales thing, but I'd be like, hey man, we're doing really good. The company is kicking butt, make sure we're on top of everything. So yeah, no, for sure. And sometimes I would go to him because, customers would say, hey, you guys should use this ingredient. And I would go to him and I would say, hey, Aaron, do you think we could use this ingredient in a product? No, that's illegal. So they were changing, like I said before, they were changing so many products and things like that, okay, they're showing that they are making changes, that they are trying to comply with the laws and with the government and with target letters and warning letters and everything like that. So from what I'm seeing, these guys are doing the right thing. And you know what? My personal opinion on it is this was Aaron and PJ's first supplement company. I don't truly believe that they were trying to make illegal stuff. I just don't think they really took time to learn the laws at the time and understand the laws. And I think that changed after Blackstone because you saw what happened with Redcon. Redcon has grown to like an enormous company compared to Blackstone when I was there. There's no comparison to the size and sales that Redcon has done to when I was at Blackstone. And that was all done with legal products. So it's not like the hardcore ingredients helped sell more because Aaron went and started Redcon and did more with that brand than Blackstone ever dreamed of at the time that I was there, and with all legal stuff. So I just think that brand was like a learning experience for them. And in my opinion, if I could be honest, I just don't think they were careful enough.
Yeah, I mean, you looking back, like some of the things we didn't mention were like it was this hype. It was just Lambos and Ferraris, and I think I'm not justifying anything, but like there is a point where you just get caught up in the insanity, and like then you just look back behind you 4 years later, an indictment drops or whatever, and there's just a tornado of records behind you. And I think a part of that is kind of what happened. Real quickly, was there an official adverse event report filed on that one person who got sick with the?
I don't think so.
Yeah. Okay. So I mean, I can see many reasons why that probably should have definitely gotten thrown out in court, especially for you. Because there are processes to do this, and we don't want to put blame on a person or his wife or whatever, but like, yeah, had they there, yeah, and most times the customers don't really understand that our AER system is basically the same as like the pharmaceutical industries and everything. So it does exist for that purpose. But hopefully, things have definitely been cleaned up in our industry more, and so hopefully we have less of that kind of thing happening.
Yeah, for sure. I think the upsetting part for me is that I've never felt the need to do anything illegal. One of the reasons why I've been able to go from company and company and work with a lot of people. And yes, I've butted heads with people. I'll be honest about that. But nobody can ever say that James lied, James stole, he screwed people over. Nobody could say that. I've been honest, and tried to do the right thing with everybody I worked with from the start. And I think that's why I can keep working with people, because yeah, you can say, yeah, he was a pain in the butt, but he did a good job in the end of the day. And I never screwed anybody over. So if I had the choice of, if I was at Blackstone and I was in the management and I was formulating, if I had the choice to figure out what was legal or illegal, or in that position, um, I know that I would have done the right thing because I have a strong moral compass. So I just wasn't in the position to make sure that things were right or wrong. So I felt like I was, being held accountable. And not when I was sentenced, I wasn't held accountable for the units I sold. I was held accountable, and why my sentence was so long, for every single thing that Blackstone Labs did wrong. So the total dollar of illegal product sold, I was held accountable for. I had points that I was held accountable for mass marketing. I didn't do any marketing. So everything Blackstone Labs did wrong, I was held accountable for. And that frustrates me, because had I been in the position to make sure that, and if it was my job to make sure that things were legal or things were compliant, I know I would have made sure that things were compliant and legal. And I wouldn't have put myself in a position to get in trouble.
One of the frustrating parts, just listening to your story, is like you kind of mentioned this was PJ and Aaron's first company, and it's quite often that we see like people who are first-time owners in this industry. They aren't compliance experts. They're not lawyers. They're not read up on DSHEA. And I have feelings about people getting into an industry where you're selling things that are ingestible that can really hurt people, of course. But at the end of the day, an entrepreneur doesn't necessarily need to be a formulator. There's a lot of reasons someone may start a brand other than being an expert formulator and understander of the regulatory. And of course, I think you should be careful. But this is a situation that is not all that unique. There's a lot of companies out there who have just come to be. Right. You look at some of the other warning letters that have gone out over the last couple of years to people who were unaware, or probably more often people that see so many other companies doing it and they aren't getting hit. Like, how many other people sold Super DMZ? There were plenty of other people selling Osterine during the time that you guys were. There are plenty of other places that were. And I don't want to come out and say that, the FDA was making an example out of you guys, but, there were plenty of other people doing the same exact thing. So I don't know. I know it's your thought that, it was kind of just a mistake and they didn't know, but you could definitely look at the industry at that time period and see a reason why someone may think that the things that they're doing is safe for them, because so many people otherwise are doing it and they did not get indicted for the same things.
Right. I mean, look at there was manufacturers back in the day making this stuff for multiple companies. No prison time. There's people that have been, I mean, Iron Mag Labs made pro hormones and Ostrin. They had that stuff out way before. Robert DiMaggio didn't get any prison time. And I even saw that his company had got a warning letter not too long ago for products. And, I just don't, I don't think it's very fair that a sales rep get the most time, and people that have been actually manufacturing and buying this stuff and selling it for years and made a lot more money than I did, get no time at all.
So, Mike, are we good to get into the prison time? Are you? I have some.
Very curious about that. I didn't realize that. Iron Mag Labs is still going. They did get something in 2022 here. I had no clue that DiMaggio didn't see prison? Because I know, yeah, because I know he was part of like some of the other SARMs lawsuits that were going back and forth. We should get there's another podcast we should do along those lines with the SARM. So subscribe to the podcast if you haven't already. Wow. Okay, so gavel hits the mat or whatever. You're guilty. Tell us what happens next. Like, can you give us the prison rundown? Ben, do you have
I had a
another
specific question that might help us.
Yep.
I was just going to ask because I think there's two parts to the prison talk that I want to make sure we bring for James. One question is like during the time of prison, like do you, Aaron and PJ, have any is there any post, prison sentence time where you guys kind of like talk it over or anything? And then I want to get into like your actual rehabilitation and the things that you did for yourself during prison as well.
Well, a couple things to that. Yeah, I've bumped into actually when after I was sentenced. So this is around April. I went in prison December 8th, and then I was sentenced in late March. And I remember I was in the Miami prison in April. I actually bumped into Joey Ventrella. We were on the same unit. So I was only there for like a couple of weeks, and then I was transferred to Pensacola. And me and Aaron, we were in the same prison together. He was actually 2 doors down. So I saw Aaron every single day until he was released. He was released before me. But yeah, I saw him every single day. And since then, I was out, on house arrest for 9 months, and I would have to check in at the halfway house, and I saw PJ at the halfway house because he had just gotten out, released from prison, and was there for a week. And what was cool is he actually apologized to me. He told me, he's like, I'm really sorry you got caught up in this. You were just an employee that worked really hard. You should have never been involved in this. So I'm really sorry. And to me, I was like, I appreciate that. I mean, you could have said something before. I mean, testify for me or come on, man. But, I at least appreciate him apologizing because, a lot of people, they didn't really understand that I was just an employee at Blackstone. There was 10 other sales reps through that time. Not one other sales rep got indicted. So yeah, I don't feel like it was very fair. But yeah, I did see Aaron. I was with him for months at Pensacola, and then I saw PJ after, and PJ did apologize to me. And this wasn't long ago, maybe 6 months ago.
Did your communication with them through those times, is that kind of what brought you to think that it really was just a mistake that they had made? Just kind of did you guys really talk about it very much? I imagine you probably tried to move on.
I guess because I would go to Aaron and say, hey, could we use this? And he'd say no. And I know that with me, I actually had a really good time, the first few years working with Aaron PJ, and especially Aaron. We got along really well. He was a hustler. I was a hustler. And they were really good at, encouraging their employees and hyping them up. And I would say one thing that I liked about Blackstone is, and especially working with Aaron, he really would back you up and boost your self-esteem. And, you could do it. He's always that guy that is not going to get in his feelings. He'll tell you, just come on, you got to get up, keep moving forward. And I had a really good time working with them for before they broke up, those first few years. And they did a lot of things that seemed like they were looking out for me. So I don't think the intention was for them to put me in a bad position. I just think things were growing so fast and they were just a little careless. That's how I saw it. Like I said, to this day, I can't tell you what was in their head, what they really know or what they didn't know. But I know that, from my experiences with Aaron, at times he hasn't given me the best advice, but I know his advice has come from a place of good intentions. And I could honestly say that.
Cool. So I didn't realize that you saw Aaron in prison all the time. What was it like, man? Like, I'm guessing most people listening to this, myself included, haven't served like real deal prison time. Can you got anything?
Well, he
Tips,
was
pointers?
like, Singerman was like famous in prison. So when I got to Pensacola and I knew he was there, so I bumped into him and saw him. And he had just gotten into RDAP, so we were in different buildings. And I remember my like first night at Pensacola, the guys from the kitchen come up to me with like a salad with fruit and like all this stuff from the kitchen. They're like, "Yo, this is from Aaron." I'm like, "Dude, is this like Godfather stuff, like or Goodfellas, like like cutting like the garlic and stuff?" Yo, I'm salad, fruit. I'm like, "Yo, this is great. Aaron's like famous in here." So it was funny, like it was like Goodfellas or something, and people bringing me food and stuff. Oh yes, this is from Aaron. Okay, cool. But yeah, I eventually got into RDAP, and it was just interesting. I mean, prison for me was a relief, to be honest. The first part was when I was going through all the prisons and the jails. I went through 14 different places before I got to my destination over a 6-month time. And they even, at one point, I was in the mental institution of the jail. And I was only supposed to be in there for a day and then cleared to go into the general population. And somebody must have forgot about me or paperwork. They left me in the mental institution for 2 months, 60 days. I was in a room with 2 doors, no windows. The lights were on day and night. So you didn't know what time it was, what day it was. Is it 2 a.m? Is it 3 p.m? You just completely lose track of time. I didn't see sunlight for 60 days in this mental room with guys that had real issues, schizophrenia, things like that. People be pulling off my blankets at night, tapping my head through the blankets. "James, you got to wake up, man. I got to talk to you. Got to talk to you, bro. I got to talk to you." Fighting and stuff, crazy stuff. 60 days in this mental institution. And the guard would come in, the officer, once every however many hours. And I say, "Bro, am I going to get out of this place?" He's like, "Yeah, I don't handle any of that. You should have been out of here a long time ago." But yeah, 60 days, no light, with the lights on. I totally lost track of time. But I was like, man, if I could get through this, then when I get to camp, it'll be a lot easier. So once I got to camp, and, like I said, prison was a relief because my life was so hectic before, leading up to prison. I was dealing with some personal relationship issues and things like that, which were really hard, and trying to come back in the sales and working with companies that, things didn't work out with Mile-Blocs or Black Magic Chemics, things I really poured my heart into that ended up not working out, and, personal at home issues. And then the case, it was just any one of those things would take its toll on a person. And I had all 3 at once, all 4 at once. And it was just a lot. So once I got to prison, and your responsibilities go away, right? All you got to do is wake up and eat and read and chill out. It was like a vacation for me. It was the feeling of relief. I read a lot and, just kind of relaxed a little bit. But the time went by really quick. I was only in prison for 15 months, but it was definitely a feeling of relief. I mean, yes, it is stressful. It is prison, but it's funny, people, the guys on the inside, once you get in there, they have cell phones and stuff. So they hit up people on the outside and they find out all the information about you. So people on the inside, talked to the people on the outside, found out information about me, and they knew I wasn't a rat. And a lot of people in prison are snitches. So because they found out that I wasn't a snitch or a rat, I was in prison 15 months. Not one person messed with me. I was treated great in prison. And I told somebody this the other day. In prison, I was treated better than most supplement company owners treat me. And that is a fact. I was treated better in prison than I am by most supplement company owners. Fact.
Wow. Hey, some bookkeeping real quick. You've mentioned RDAP a couple of times. I quickly Googled it. Residential Drug Abuse Program or something else?
Yep, that's what it is. It takes, if you complete the course, which is 9 months, it takes a year off your sentence.
Gotcha. Wow.
Yeah, this is something I'd like to bring up because you're talking about like, well, pretty much everyone in this case has gotten out a little bit early. Does that a lot have to do with RDAP? Because a lot of people had questions about why people are getting out so early as compared to how long their sentences were supposed to be.
Yeah, so, there's the First Step Act, there's RDAP, there's a lot of things in place for people that are low-level offenders. So there's care. I got out on the care. I had the RDAP year, and then I got out on a CARES Act, which was, if you had a health condition because of COVID, they don't want crowded prisons and people getting COVID and dying, that you could finish your sentence from home. If you were 50% done with your sentence or 18 months to the door. So once I was 18 months to the door, I got to go home and I finished my sentence on house arrest. So I had the ankle monitor on and
did any of the people,
all that stuff like that.
You mentioned that you were the only person who didn't cooperate or plead guilty. Did any of the people who did plead guilty? I don't know. This is a good question to ask. But were they not treated as well as you were? Like that difference between I don't know if cooperating is considered being a rat, but was that a difference for other people?
Well, I just think in the prison system it is. I don't think at least where I was, you were treated differently, but people respected you differently for sure. They'd be like, man, you ratting buddy out. You're like one of the realest bros in here. So like, no matter who you're with, they had respect for you because, and a lot of people knew my story too, that, hey, it goes against my moral code to lie and for my own benefit. And there was no way I was going to, I told everybody, I'm not going to lie and say that PJ and Aaron knew what they were doing just to help myself. I'm not going to do that. That goes against my moral code.
Who were you in there? Like, were you with violent offenders or was the nature of your sentence, did that put you with more like white collar criminals?
Well, once you got to the camp, yeah, you were with more white collar criminals and drug dealers or people that were at a higher level and worked their way down, behaved, didn't get in trouble, and finishing out their sentence at a camp. But through the jails and stuff, yeah, there was definitely more violent people and things like that.
Did you make some friends in there? Or did you just keep to yourself? How talkative were you?
Well, I had fun in prison. Once I got to federal prison, the camp, I was joking around every day, because it's it's weird. You're in prison, you're infantilized, really. So the little kid in you comes out a little bit. Hey, we're playing softball today. Okay, I haven't played softball in 10 years, 15 years. All right, so almost and you brought your food and here you go, like a little baby. So it's a weird feeling. You kind of revert back to being like a little kid. And so I would joke around a lot. I had a good vibe through prison, but in that federal prison camp, because there is a handful of people that aren't real criminals, in my opinion, and that don't deserve to be in a prison. I think they could get fines or something like that. Yeah, I met a handful of really awesome people. A couple of people were the best people I've ever met in my entire life. So, I mean, some people get caught up in a mix of something like I did. So yeah, no, there's some good people in that kind of camp area. So I did make some pretty cool friends, and come across some good people. A lot of like first time offenders, or even like what is there, malpractice or something like that, where
Hmm.
it's not really a crazy crime. So it's like you lock these people up like they can't be in society, but they're pretty normal people that just made a mistake.
Gotcha. And how about the gym facilities? Were you working out? You're still looking pretty wide and everything. So
Well, we had a gym at the Pensacola camp, and they had real weights, bench press, leg press, Smith machine. So I worked out a little bit, but for the most time there, I tried to relax, and I read a lot. I read a lot of different books and just really tried to relax. And then once I got out, I started working out again.
mhm. That was
Uh,
going to be my next question. Any books that hit you pretty good in there that you'd recommend to PricePlow Nation?
well, I read a lot of like psychology books. So they had a huge psychology library, and I mean hundreds of books. And I would read like a book every couple days, um, anything on behavior, relationships, because in the future, um, life coaching and relationship coaching is something I want to do, and I have a really cool business idea for that. So it's something I was working on before prison, and it's definitely something that I was able to work on in prison too. And I've always enjoyed psychology and understanding um, people and behavior, and I think that was one of the reasons why I was so successful as a sales rep, is because I could attune to people really well. Every customer I could attune to, and I could find a way to listen to them and try to give them what they wanted. And that's a hard thing in this industry. This is a pretty tough industry, and with the fitness and the way people look, it's very deceiving because you have a lot of people that put on this facade that they are really confident business people, bodybuilders, and really inside they're very insecure people. So I've always had my problems with insecure people. That's the people I butted heads with the most. And in this industry, you have these insecure people that get offended easily, that don't trust others. Um, and unfortunately, a lot of these people are very selfish and self-centered, and what can I get out of you attitude, and not what could I do for you? They value money over people. And I don't do that. I don't value money over people. And so I've always been good at attuning to my customers and listening and hearing them, and being able to work well with them. So, and I think that's the hard part about this industry that people don't understand. You have a lot of these very strong ego people, and that's just a cover up for their insecurities. And when those insecurities are triggered, they lash out at others and try to hurt others. And they're just trying to take from others. I can't tell you companies I worked for as a sales rep where the expectations for me were so high, and there's nothing I could do to make these people happy, and they just weren't interested in investing in people. They were just interested at what they could take from me, and that's what makes the industry hard, for sure.
Hmm. Do you mind telling me like what exact years were you in prison from, or what months? Do you have the exact?
December 8th of 2021 to, I think, maybe March 18th, 2023, I was released from Pensacola. And then I was on house arrest from that time until November 20th. So
Gotcha.
November 20th was my official release. I could go where I want to go, do what I want to do.
And so you're not wearing an ankle monitor or anything like that now,
Nope.
but you are on probation, I assume, checking
Yes.
in with. And can you leave the state of Florida, or are
Yes.
you? Okay.
Yeah, with
Can you leave the
permission and
country?
things like that. Yeah, with permission.
So we're going to see you with Arnold.
Okay, gotcha.
Are we
what
going to
was
see you
that?
with Arnold?
Maybe. Do you know what? I haven't seen my family. Like I have grandparents that are like 90 years old and stuff like that. That because of all this stuff, I haven't been able to see them in 5 years. So my priority right now is work, getting some work going, some income, and spending some time with my family that I haven't seen in
That was the
years.
right answer for sure. That's great.
Mhm.
I do want to say you being president never sat well with me. When you went in there, I could definitely attest you've always been a person who like openly talked about trauma and quality of people, and I never thought that you really meant to hurt anyone. But it's awesome to see you out and doing well. Do you have any plans in terms of next steps that you could share with what you're up to and what you're doing?
I've been talking to Greg at Fresh Sups. He's got a new company. They won the Rookie of the Year. He definitely needs some sales help. So I'm thinking about working with him. He's got a great brand. And that's the great thing about the supplement industry, that there's always a demand for these products. There's always a demand to look better and feel better. So there's always opportunities, always new brands coming out. Definitely, I have been away for a little while. So people kind of forgot about me, and so I need to come back and, make my footprint in the industry again. And, I would like to start slow and build up. And if I'm going to top what I did before, bringing limited editions and cool things out, I mean, there's a lot of cool stuff out now. If I'm going to have the next thing, or it's going to take some work and some thinking to create it, to find something new, a new niche, something cool, because people have stepped it up since I've been gone.
Absolutely. Always. Yeah. I did ask when you were actually in prison, because you were kind of in a way almost like talking bad about a few people in the industry or whatever. But like from my perspective, and I was like between 2020 and 2022, 2023, I think there's been no better industry to be in. Seeing my friends deal with so many shenanigans in corporate America and so much nonsense. And dude, like, I don't know. I love this industry. It's just solidified it for me. Like this is the place to be, in my opinion. So like, welcome back to you. I know that Ben's got to get going pretty soon. I think, yes, I want to welcome you back and everything. And I thank you for sharing your story here, man. It's I know it probably wasn't easy to share, and it sounds like you're a better person for it. Like at this point coming on out and everything. So like, I don't know if congratulations is the right word, but like, good job for like doing the right thing as far as you're concerned. And I don't know what we're gonna title this episode, but like James Boccuzzi is not a rat is possibly one such title.
Yeah.
But I saw like, yeah, man, I appreciate you for sure. And I do think that we will see you at the Arnold, because hopefully you get some business cooking up and people are going to want to see you and everything. So especially after hearing this. Ben, do you have anything else to close up with? Or anything?
I just want to send a really heartfelt thank you, James. Hopping on this is definitely not easy. And I honestly didn't expect you to do it, just based on probably your lawyers, to be completely fair about it. But this has been really great. I really do hope to see you do some incredible things. I think that Greg is an awesome dude, and it would be great to see you there. But I'm sure there are plenty of companies that would be really happy to welcome your book of business. We are not as tied in with brick and mortar anymore, but I've always heard stores sing high praise of what a quality person you are and what a great sales rep you are. So best of luck. If we can help at all, I'd love to lend a hand in any way.
Yeah, I'm confident. Like you to interrupt. Like you've been ahead of the curve on so many things. When I see like trends from people like this, there's a pattern that you've been ahead of the curve with the collab thing. Everyone who was in on USPLabs, like we saw a lot of that going on and everything. You've been ahead of the curve, and so I don't think that was just like a fluke. You've done it enough times and been on enough hot things that I think you will see the next ahead of the curve type trend is if you stay in the industry and don't go into personal coaching or relationships or anything like that and stick with us here. So I'm confident in you, man.
And no, I mean, this is huge for me to do this because, when things happen with the indictment and everything like that, I never got to talk and defend myself or tell my story in court. I didn't take the stand. I wasn't able to bring out any evidence. I was told that I cannot talk. And so this is my first time telling the story a little bit, just a part of the story to you guys. So it means a lot because, you could Google my name and you see the articles and you see the things that were twisted to sound a certain way. And I never got to say, hey, wait a minute, that I was there. That's not what happened. So this is huge for me. It feels great to be able to talk about it and share my perspective. And so I really thank you guys. And definitely a really big thanks to everybody that supported me through this. I have my friends writing me every day while I was in prison. My parents took on a lot. They helped me out big time. My friends took my cats and dogs and watched my animals. The support I had from my friends through this and family and even other people in the industry, when I came back and I had this post on Instagram, people went nuts. They're like, oh my God, he's back. It was funny. The first hour I was home, people are like, oh, what are you dropping next? I'm like, bro, could I sleep in a bed? Like, come on, yo, give me a minute. Could I sleep in a bed for once? I've been sleeping on the floor for a year. So, just thanks to everybody for the support. And thank you guys for letting me tell a part of my story and at least defend myself, because that's not a good feeling when people are saying all this stuff about you. And to me, that's not the real story.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And
thank you guys.
Well. Mm-hmm.